Ford's Colony is in effect a small municipality. The Ford's Colony Homeowners Association is solely responsible for what's around us. Governance, oversight, and a good bit of know-how is supplied through the efforts of about 150 volunteers, without whom we would not enjoy the experience that is Ford's Colony at the relatively low cost that we pay. We very much value our volunteers and rely heavily on a continuing influx of new talent, new perspectives, and energy, which collectively enhances the vitality of the community. There is another aspect of volunteering, however, and that's the value that volunteering provides to the individual. New residents find it a beautiful way to settle into the community, interact with others, and meet new friends. It provides mental exercise that helps us maintain resilience, kind of like Sudoku with a purpose. And the sense of accomplishment can become pleasurably addicting. So who are these individuals and the committees they serve on? Ken Spencer and I will spend a little time highlighting them and their accomplishments. There are over 60 clubs providing social, cultural, educational, recreational, and service activities throughout Ford's Colony. This diversified set of clubs is coordinated by a tightly organized group of volunteers making up the Activities Committee. This committee assists their activities and recreational manager in scheduling facilities, and it provides oversight to ensure compliance with governing documents, including county, state, and federal law. The huge impact of this to this community is perhaps best illustrated in the way we are navigating through COVID-19. Our community must provide a balance between meeting the social needs and expectations of residents on the one hand, but doing it in a way that ensures safety for all. Balancing this is the responsibility of the Activities Committee as we come through this difficult time. Our recent resident survey tells us that they've done that very, very well. Somewhat separate from the Activities Committee, but part of the overall committee, are the service groups themselves. There are 7 dedicated service groups that sponsor and manage special interest programs for the community. These programs range from colony kids to aging in place, and are in their very existence a testament to the multi-generational reality that is Ford's Colony. By the way, I mentioned earlier that we have about 150 volunteers comprising our standing committees and the board. When you consider that in addition there are over 60 clubs and 7 service groups in operation, you get a feel for the enormity of contributions from volunteers throughout the community. Next to the Architecture Review Committee, and there is no understating the importance of a community like Ford's Colony in maintaining architectural continuity. We rely upon a look and feel that requires architectural standards. However, a key value here is a sense of family, of a welcoming community that embraces differences in experiences and lifestyles. Finding the optimal blend of the two is the responsibility of the Architecture Review Committee. It reviews all applications for new construction and also modifications to existing homes for compliance with the Purchaser's Handbook. They are also responsible for maintaining that handbook through constant revision as need occurs. And that handbook is not a static document. The committee recently worked with a management agent, for example, in the new multifamily guideline supplement to that handbook. The stats for 2020, 26 new housing starts, 11 additions, 98 minor improvements, and 101 landscaping improvements. Quite a busy year. Our field inspectors are part of the Architecture Review Committee, but are actually a subcommittee to the ARC. They are our boots on the ground, and they bring various and considerable skills to that architecture process. They work closely with James City County inspectors, and their work is on demand in a way that ensures that it does not hold up the home building process. Covenants Committee, well, there are unfortunately times when various conditions result in properties failing to comply with the community's architectural guidelines or any such provisions within our governing documents. The Covenants Committee serves as the objective tribunal to determine whether there have been violations of the association's declaration, bylaws, and duly adopted rules and regulations. Sure, sometimes it feels like a thankless task, but our Covenants Committee fulfills its role with tact and grace, even in the challenging environments of the past year. And when there is a violation, the Covenants Committee's approach is really to work with residents to help them get into compliance. Communications. What a story. The Talk of the Colony recently received an award, 2019, from Community Associations International for the quality and messaging of their work. What an honor for the community and the editorial team of the Talk of the Colony. As a matter of fact, I've been told that the Talk of the Colony serves as a template for a number of associations in and outside of Virginia. But that's not all the Communication Committee does. It administers the various digital communications media employed on behalf of the association, including website, social media, and other community-wide emails. And it supports the marketing efforts and sales of advertisements by the management agent to ensure that its efforts are fully funded and come at no cost to residents. There could be no other measure of the Communications Committee than this factoid. Coming out of the 2019 resident survey, the board identified communications as a focus area for 2020. The results? An over 10-point improvement in the question concerning the effectiveness of communications. Quite an achievement. I'd now like to hand off the mic to Ken Spencer for the remainder of the committees.
Thank you, Rick. I'm happy to report that the Facilities Committee had a very active year in 2020. They had significant accomplishments, starting down with what you see right here in the S&T Club, with complete renovation of the interior here. It's done a beautiful job. They did a major repair of the S&T swimming pool. They've completed the RV and boat storage area, giving a lot more spaces for our residents to use. They completely renovated the CSB back lot to provide areas for our maintenance people to work. They completed repairs on the CSB entrances. They completed the S&T pickleball court expansions and installed permanent nets. They completed a bocce court in Westbury Park, and they received approval to install a water slide at the Westbury Park pool. Then they have also initiated planning for some of the future projects to add amenities to the Forts Colony thing. I'd like to give special recognition to Art Magro, who for the last 2 years has chaired the Facilities Committee and did an excellent job leading all of these projects. The Finance Committee had a very challenging year this year, and they succeeded in an immense way. They restructured the budget development process due to the COVID restrictions, and they created a zero-based budget process, which reduced the overall budgeting targets to the committees. The net goal was we created a budget that is very livable with modest increases in the fees. They also developed a plan to fund the needed repairs to the pipe repairs and damage, and you see that in the previous briefings. They monitored the FCHOA budget process and captured all of the additional expenses caused by the COVID restrictions. And they also clarified the financial reporting process to the board and made it much easier. The marketing committee also had a great year. They leveraged all of the initiatives that they started in 2019 and expanded them in 2020, and totally exceeded the number of contacts and the number of requests for information that they expected to get during the year. They made a realtor toolkit which put out documents for realtors to use to help market this. They had over 1,600 downloads in the last year of that, and the realtors, they really appreciated having that information, made it easier to sell lots here in Fort Colony. They've developed a FCHOA YouTube channel and an information videos, and they've surveyed 60 new residents that came within the last year to find out why they chose Fort Colony and what they liked about it. They're using that to develop further marketing strategies. Our nominating committee really did an outstanding job this year. They revised the nominating process to interview candidates virtually. They interviewed many potential board candidates and selected 5 candidates which you are voting for in the current election. These are all highly qualified. They videotaped the meet candidate sessions and then solicited online questions, which they then videotaped the answers to and put that online so the residents can see all this stuff at home. They solicited homeowner questions, candidates to work on this, and now we'll have a great election. Roads and Projects Management is another committee that had a very, very busy year in 2020. They completed the inspection of the underground drainage pipe system and developed a plan to repair all the critical failures. They replaced and relined drainage pipes in Southport area and on Edinburgh Drive. In doing this on the Edinburgh Drive, they found a new sleeve lining system which allowed them to repair the pipes without digging up the roads and causing further disruption. They used that very successfully and it worked fantastically. They identified a new rejuvenation product that is cheaper and ecologically friendly, and tested it on Fort Colony Drive and proved that it worked. They also widened the bike trail walking path on Fort Colony Drive. They put down new markings there that clearly delineate that area to help protect the walkers and riders. They procured new replacement LED lights for our street light system and replaced those as needed. These will be more efficient and less costly. They repaired the nature trail to the extensive damage from the storm. There's still a little more work to do, but they're working on that. And they repaired several roads and assessed which roads need further repair for 2021 and put that in their budget. The subcommittee of the RPM is the Landscape Design Subcommittee, and they're refreshing our entrances and done a great job working on Southport entrance, working on Firestone entrance, Edinburgh area, and also working on Fort Colony Drive during the year. Security did an outstanding job. They had to revise a lot of their security procedures to comply with the COVID restrictions. They coordinated with the JCC Fire and Rescue to respond to multiple emergencies using these new restrictions. And they reviewed the traffic speed data and recommended some enhanced enforcement of the traffic procedures. Subcommittee under the security is the Emergency Preparedness Subcommittee. They had to revise their procedures also to comply with COVID restrictions and figured out a way that they could keep certified emergency responders with a certified emergency response team because of the restrictions, and they did that successfully. Our Strategic Planning Committee did an outstanding job this year also. They developed some new processes and approach tasks with the COVID restrictions. They updated our risk assessment and submitted that to the board for consideration and implementation at various goals for next year. They implemented a new survey software and accomplished the latest survey, and you've seen the results in this briefing today. They also completed and analyzed homeowner satisfaction survey and reported that to the board and the subcommittees. And we'll be using that data to further change our processes and procedures for the next year. Our technology committee really stepped up big time this year. As we had all the COVID restrictions, we've been leveraging our technology a lot better. They identified significant IT infrastructure risks and developed some plans to replace those infrastructure and upgrade our IT system to make it easier for the board, committees, and the HOA to use. They identified and selected a new HOA email service that addressed serious shortfalls and security risks in our old email system. And they started a phased implementation for a new email service across the board so that we minimize disruptions to the HOA staff and the volunteers. Finally, our volunteer management committee has continued doing a great job of finding volunteers to keep our homeowners association running. Volunteers are the heart of our homeowners association, and the volunteer management committee developed some revised policies to ensure we get engagement with all of our potential volunteers and keep the volunteer pool being a very active and workable thing for our HOA to use. We really depend on these volunteers. That's the end of my presentation. The next presentation will be recognizing board members that are completing their terms, and it will be presented by Sally Frazier.